out some scraps of fabric. I have some crumb pieces that I've sewn together. Sometimes I just sit and sew my crumbs together into different size pieces. We're going to need those if you want to use them. If you don't, you can use little pieces of fabric. All you need are 6-inch squares. So let's go take a look at what we're going to make today. And if you have any orphan blocks, they would be perfect to use. You can use anything you want for these. Hello, welcome to Marie's Scrappy Creations, where we sew the scraps of your life into beautiful creations. Today we're making what could be a gift, to be something that you just keep around your house, you make for others, can be anything you want it to be. Jar openers. Now I made some of these for the craft fair this past summer, and so many of you have asked me how I made them, and they're so easy. Great scrap buster, so let's go make some. All right, let's see what we have here. So out of my crumbs, I have a 6-inch square. And then you need a 6-inch square of fabric. And this can be anything. What if you have an old flannel shirt that doesn't fit your husband anymore, or you have a blouse? Use anything at all, or a piece of fabric that you don't particularly care for or think you're not going to use for anything else. Anything will do. So I'm going to make two different ones here, so I'm just showing you. You could take it out of yardage or use your scraps. You could use an orphan quilt block. What if you made one and it didn't turn out right? Something's wrong with it in some way. This is a perfect use, okay? So besides your two 6-inch squares, you're going to need shelf liner. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about shelf liner. For each jar opener, you need two 6-inch squares of fabric and one 6-inch square of shelf liner. So what's the difference here besides what's obvious? This one's a little floppy. Okay, when I was getting ready for the craft fair this year, I decided to make jar openers. And I knew that the dollar store had this shelf liner. And I knew that Walmart had this. And there is a difference in the thickness, I'm not going to lie. This is easily more than double of this. But I'm going to say this right out. I have never made a jar opener until this past summer, nor have I used one. So maybe this holds up just fine for using it as we're going to. But maybe it doesn't. And I wasn't going to make a bunch for the craft fair, sell them to people, and then have this rip. I would have been embarrassed. So I decided to go with the thicker shelf liner. Now, at Walmart, I bought a piece of shelf liner that measured 12 inches by 10 feet. So I got 40 squares. So enough for 40 jar openers for $5, and I think, $5.32. At the dollar store, you pay $1.25, and you get a piece that is 12 inches by 60 inches. So you've got enough for 20. So 20 for $1.25, 40 for $5 and some change. Your choice. This might be perfectly acceptable, and if that's all you can find, go with it, okay? I'm not going to go on about that. I just wanted to explain to you what the difference is, as well as you can use clips or pins with either of these, whichever you want to use. I do tend to use pins, but I can use clips as well. So let's get to it. I'm going to make two. We're going to put them side by side. I think I'm going to go like this, just because the white matches with this fabric. And isn't that cute? Decadent chocolate cake, organic milk. I think that's the cutest fabric. Well, I don't know. This is right up there. I love Scrappy blocks. Okay, right side up. So put your, whatever your featured fabric is going to be, right side up. Place your shelf liner right on top. Cover it right up, just like that. Then the fabric that's not going to show, we're going to set that right side down. So both of your right sides are facing each other. See? With that shelf liner in the middle. Both right sides are together. This one doesn't matter. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark this to leave an opening. Oops, I moved my fabric. I always, when I use pins to mark an opening, I tend to put my pins the opposite way of what I normally, how I normally would place them. So I know that I'm going to start, I'm going to back tack here, sew around and back tack. And I'm going to use a 2.5 millimeter stitch length on these. But see, you could just as easily clip these all the way around. Maybe put the two on one side where you're going to have your opening, or whatever it is that will remind you to leave that space open. Okay, so let's take this over to the sewing machine. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, back tack, sew around, back tack, 2.5 millimeter stitch length. I'll sew those both and then we'll go to the next part. All right, I have sewn around and we're going to clip our corners. Make sure you get it fairly close, but you don't want to get too close that you lose your stitch line. So clip all your corners, and then we're going to flip these right side out. And we're almost done because this is one of those quick projects. Now, something I wanted to mention is that if you're making pot holders for someone, for a gift or something like that, make these to match. You know, why not give them a set? Remember those hot pads we made when I first had my channel? We made the hot pads and then we made the pot holders. You could make some of these to match. Okay, when you go to flip these right side out, just make sure that your feature fabric, to put your hand in there so that your feature fabric and your shelf liner are like this. You don't want to have it be towards your other fabric, okay? So just flip that right side out. Oh, and if anyone asks me, that opening was about 3 inches probably. So we're going to flip this right side out. We're going to poke our corners out. And these work up so quick and easy, and I really find mine very handy to have in the kitchen. And you know, it's funny because I made a bunch up, like I said, for the craft fair. Oh, we have Sally out here helping me poke out the corners. Be very careful because this shelf liner, you can poke right out through that very easily. So gently, very gently, just nudge those corners. Okay, I'll flip my other one out. Whoops, I almost did it the wrong way. Gotta have my feature fabric out there. And you might not think that I'm going to iron these. Ha ha ha, I am. But I'm going to warn you, you want to be careful. But I ironed all 100 or whatever I made for that craft fair, and I didn't melt not even one of them. So it can be done. Now I found that this kind of shelf liner is much more easily broken out through the corner than the other. It's been my Okay, so smooth it out. You don't have to iron it. I'm gonna tell you, you can do this. This one actually is going to go very well without being ironed. It's thinner. It just is. It's thinner shelf liner. So I'm not going to use my clips this time. I'm going to use what I'm used to. There's our opening. But you see how this one just doesn't lay down like the other one? I'm going to pause this and I'm just going to take, let me see what it's on. It is on silk setting. And all I'm going to do with that iron on silk setting is go like this, turn, and go like this. That's it. That's all I'm going to do, because you can't get this hot. It will melt. So I'm going to pause and do that. All right, I just pressed that very quickly. And I'm going to pin this opening closed. Okay, now the next part of the directions is going to be totally dependent on your machine. So I'm going to warn you that your first one is going to be a trial one, because you may find that your machine likes to have this side up and it will move along well. Or maybe your machine would rather be this side down, like this. I found that my regular foot didn't work as well as my walking foot. My walking foot does a wonderful job, and it doesn't matter if I put this side up or this side down. So I'm going to go close this up. I'm going to take, and I'm going to use a 3 or a 3.5 millimeter. You can use whichever you want. I might use 3.5 millimeter, and I'm going to go around 1/8 of an inch from the edge all the way around these. And I will come back and show you, but I'm going to use my walking foot. And if you have one, I would recommend that. If you don't, you know, there are a lot of different ways you can go. There's such thing as a Teflon foot. I have one. I didn't find it helpful for this project. But depending on your machine, it might glide right through, or you may have to figure out whether you have your shelf liner up or down. So that's why I say your first one will be a trial. All right, I went around these, and I will say that I found a difference between these when I was sewing. This thinner one stuck to the bed of my machine more than this one did. This one glided a little more, but it's a little softer, whereas this one isn't. I really can't say. It depends on what you can get and what you want to do. Totally up to you. I'm just trying to tell you the difference between the two on my end. But I did use a 3.5 millimeter stitch length, which I think looked really well on there, because you can see the stitches without it being messy. So I think that was a good thing. And these make such a great gift. I really do think so. And this is probably the beginning of what I would call our Christmas season. I'm going to give our creative word of the day is going to be the word square. Okay, so for any of you who are new, the creative word of the day, if you use it in a sentence below the video, no matter how old the video is, as long as you use the creative word of the day, your name goes in a drawing for our monthly drawing, where I draw the first Wednesday of each month, and you get something made by me, sent to you. The only thing with that is anything going outside the United States is going to have to be something that will fit in an envelope because of postal prices. Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention is, you know, there's probably different things you could try, such as the stitch and tear paper, maybe putting it underneath. I don't know whether that would work or not, as far as to keep it from sticking. But I think as long as you do a couple just as a trial, you know, just see what you get. I think you'll find a way that your machine will do these. And once you've got one done, the easiest way to do them is to buy a whole strip of this stuff, cut it out all at once into 6-inch pieces, cut your squares, and just make a bunch of them. Because making them one at a time, of course, is going to take longer. But anyway, I'd like to thank you for hanging out with me today here at Marie's Scrappy Creations. I hope you enjoyed today's little tutorial. It was a short one, but they can't all be long and involved. We got to have some easy, quick ones every once in a while. So until next time, I hope you have fun digging through your scrap pile, because you know there's a lot of creativity inside that scrap pile. And you take care out there and be kind. The world needs more of that. I'll see you next time right here at Marie's Scrappy Creations. Bye-bye.